Your mental health is your cognitive and authentic stabilizer. It allows you to explore the world with a clear mind and conscience, which makes the observance of National Mental Health Awareness Month vitally important, which we do every time the calendar turns to May. It aims to raise awareness about mental health stigma and reducing it, all while promoting awareness about mental health conditions. It also serves as an opportunity to educate the public and dismantle barriers to seeking assistance when it comes to preserving and highlighting the importance of maintaining a strong mental health condition, all while improving the condition of the resources that we offer to optimize every aspect of our mental health. You may be also surprised to learn mental illness is quite common. According to my friends at the Canadian Mental Health Association of Windsor and Essex, more people experienced a mental health disorder than any other illnesses, including a stroke, multiple sclerosis, cerebral palsy, and epilepsy combined, according to the most recent statistics that we have from the District Health Council. Approximately 62,000 people across Windsor and Essex are struggling with their mental health. However, here's the good news. The local chapter of the Canadian Association of Mental Health provides extensive resources and a wide range of services to support nearly everyone in our region. They provide specialized services for those experiencing serious mental illness, along with support for those dealing with life challenges, educational opportunities, and programs aimed to support and engage the public at large. And my friend Kim Wills is the Director of Communications and Health Promotion for the association here locally in Windsor. And she joined me this week to have a timely conversation about the state of mental health in our region, what the association is doing to support it, and Wills also provides her perspective on how mental health resources from across the country can be strengthened so that everyone can provide and get the help that they need. I'm Kevin McShann. Let's have this conversation. Kim, if you're ready, my friend, I'll welcome you back to the program. And I'm super excited to talk about the importance of National Mental Health Awareness Month. Great to see you again. And happy Friday to you, my friend.
Happy Friday to you, Kevin.
Absolutely. Now, Kim, as we come to the end of National Mental Health Awareness Month, I'm wondering if we can start our conversation by you sort of giving me a glance into your perspective on the state of mental health across the country and right here in our backyard here in Windsor and Essex. What are your thoughts there, my friend?
I think it's a mixed bag when it comes to mental health. I believe there are some pieces that we have improved on and are doing okay, but certainly a lot of room for improvement always. We know that collectively, our mental health, people would say it's worse than before COVID. So we're still bouncing back from that whole experience. And then life just keeps moving forward and creating new pressures and concerns that we're all faced with and dealing with at any given time. So whether that's, finances, employment, dealing with your kids, it's always something. And we do know that there's been an increase in emergency room visits and hospitalizations when it comes to mental health addictions and substance use. And a significant proportion, 57% of people that are 18 to 24 that had signs of mental illness say that cost remains a barrier or an obstacle to receiving care. So that's troubling. On the flip side, I would say as a region, we are working really close with all of our community partners to develop or strengthen existing programs and services, and new pieces continue to be added. The Mental Health Urgent Care Center located at the Ouellette site of Windsor Regional Hospital is a good example of that, where, it's 24/7 that you can go to the Emerge and have supports there in a designated space. I think, like I said, it's a mixed bag. Certainly still a lot of work to be done.
Yeah, absolutely. And when we look specifically, Kim, when it comes to mental health at work, Greenfield released a study that said 1 in 3 Canadians would actually leave their jobs for better and uh, more comprehensive mental health benefits. And they also found that the younger generation and marginalized groups between the ages of 18 and 24 are leading that cause when it comes to LGBTQ community and people with disabilities and the like, my friend. So when you hear that statistic and those numbers, my friend, I'm wondering what comes to mind for you, my friend.
Yeah, I mean, I would say the younger generation is a lot more literate when it comes to mental health. They expect and want that support when it comes to their workplace. So, having a psychologically health and safe workplace that provides boundaries and supports in the way of benefits if and when they need to access those. It's really important to the younger generation. And we know that for, LGBTQ, that demographic, that, organizations should listen to what their employees are saying, whether it's through surveys or feedback, and, try to action some of those suggestions. Even if it's really small to start with, you have to start somewhere. But certainly, we are seeing, burnout continues to be an issue that's a top ranked concern for employees across every age demographic. And, I think that there's a certain amount of responsibility for a good employer to offer those benefits, the same as they would for physical health issues. And, there's also a responsibility on the part of us as individuals to care for our mental health the way we do our physical health.
Yeah, absolutely. And just one more a stat from that survey. It also found that 67% of employees across the country have experienced sort of a mental health blockage or an episode within the last 12 months, which I'm sure you're not surprised by, but I'm curious if we can build on the discussion about how we can better meet people where they are when it comes to mental health at work and the importance of work-life balance. What are your thoughts there?
Yeah, I mean, it's absolutely important to have that work-life balance to the best of our ability. It's important to enjoy those things that bring you happiness and joy outside of when you are working. You know, a lot of our work is very stressful and demanding, and you need those outlets to remove yourself and stop thinking about the deadlines and the pressure at work. And in the workplace, I know a lot of employers are doing a good job or looking to make improvements when it comes to supporting the mental health of their employees, whether it's through employee assistance programs or offering benefits to seek counseling and supports. If you have to have medication to support any mental illness or addiction issues, it's becoming more of a must-have instead of a nice-to-have, I would say. That if you want to attract good people to your organization, then some of those benefits and supports are really necessary. I know also that we do a lot of work at CMHA, going out to workplaces and supporting those in leadership positions in knowing how to recognize and support those experiencing mental health issues. We all know of someone who has experienced a mental health challenge in their lifetime. Increasingly, we know of these individuals, and I think when it comes to empathy is a good, so important. And listening when your staff or employees come forward. I think we talk a lot about listening, but active listening and being empathetic are really important as well.
Yeah, Tim, I'm curious on a more broader sort of perspective and point of view. How important do you think it is for organizational leaders to prioritize mental health and really checking in with their employees rather, because it's a significant driver to the overall organizational culture, isn't it?
100%, yes. And we know that the top reason that people go off on medical leaves is stress and anxiety. So it really becomes a good business proposition for employers to be supporting the mental health and wellness of their employees. We know, if someone is becoming burnt out or very stressed about in the workplace, that they're not as productive. They're more prone to take leaves, take sick time, not be as engaged in their workplace. So it's really, I mean, it's a business. It makes good business sense as well as, emotional sense to support mental health of your employees. A healthy, a psychologically healthy and safe workplace is more likely to be productive, more satisfying, more enjoyable. Also, staff retention. It costs a lot of money to hire and onboard new staff. So sustainability and keeping staff longer times, that retention piece is really reflective in if you have, a mentally healthy workplace.
Yeah, absolutely. And Kim, I also wanted to talk to you about the practical and, real effects of societal pressures on our mental health. Canadians and how they deal with pressure when it comes to their mental health, from everything from the rising cost of food, raising their kids in an instant sort of social media culture, and the pressures to perform at work. So I'm curious to get your thoughts on how do you believe that the changing sort of societal expectations of everything that Canadians have to deal with today affects our mental health?
Yeah, I mean, it can't not have impacts. I would say first off that mental health is health, and we need to take care of it just the way we do our physical health. You go to the dentist, 2 or 3 times a year, you should do some kind of mental health check-in, perhaps with a professional or your doctor, on a regular basis, but also supporting it on a daily basis as well. So making time for what you find enjoyable. I highly suggest unplugging and not being connected to social media as often. I think we're all guilty of that, and it's detrimental to our mental health at times. I mean, there's a lot of good things about social media, but there's a lot of downside too. I would hate to be, in high school or a young person, these days, and having to face those pressures and what that can do to one's self-esteem and mental health. So I would say, disengaging from that. Don't, stop doom scrolling. Going, like you said, the news is tough these days. It's, yeah, but go out in nature, find those things that bring you joy and happiness. Isolation is a big problem too, and social media and, being attached to our devices does not help with that. So I would say to anyone, find those things that you enjoy and make them a priority in your weekly or daily schedule, and find those outlets where you can, find the things that support your mental health. And if you think know things are detrimental, to try to find some balance.
Yeah, absolutely. And, Kim, your counterpart in Durham compiled a study that said that between 50% of people with disabilities are employed in terms of having employment, but they also deal with mental health challenges as well. And even more of the population of folks with disabilities are underemployed. And as you know, this is an issue that's near and dear to my heart because I talk to organizations about the importance of hiring folks with disabilities. So I'm curious about your perspective on how important it is to hire folks with disabilities and the impact on their mental health as well, my friend. What are your thoughts there?
Yeah, of course. I think that's a really important thing that, employers have an onus or a responsibility to be educated and engaged about any accommodations or ways that they can support employing someone that might have a physical disability. You do see some employers doing that and supporting that, and I think more of that is necessary. It's about empowering individuals, and we know that you need some of your basic needs met, like housing and finances and food and nutrition and security. All of that plays a factor in our mental health. And if you don't have those pieces, it really can be detrimental. And with it's a benefit to society for all of us to feel that sense of fulfillment and empowerment. I think there's more that employers can do to be engaged and be educated on ways or opportunities that they can support those with disabilities. One example I can share is recovery colleges are something that several CMHAs have across the country. It's a model that started in Britain, and these are colleges that are free of charge, low barrier, and it's peers, those with lived experience, who develop the course content and lead those sessions. And, oftentimes people that take those courses are then able to become leaders themselves and facilitate some of those courses. And again, it's all driven by peers and those with lived experience. So I think having the voice of those with any kind of, whether it's a mental illness or a physical issue or physical illness, having them at the table and having that conversation about what meaningful employment can look like and how we can make that happen.
Yeah, absolutely. And they also found your counterparts in Durham also found that over 5 million people across the country aren't receiving the adequate supports that they would need to significantly address their mental health concerns, my friend. So I'm curious because they also tell me that that's roughly the combined population of both Manitoba and Saskatchewan combined, my friend. So what do you think is the key to making sure that we provide sort of an olive branch of resources to those that may not be receiving the care that they need to get through the issues that they're experiencing, my friend. What are your thoughts there?
Yeah, I mean, we've said for a long time at CMHA that more investments are needed to support the increasing needs of mental health and addictions in communities across the country. We're starting to see some investments being made, and that's really exciting and long overdue. But for decades, mental health and addictions was an underfunded um, piece of the healthcare system. And as a result, many times when you go to any providers or any of these services, you are faced with wait times. And it just comes down to a business proposition that, I know at CMHA and other organizations that we work closely with, we are always trying to find ways to be more efficient and manage those wait times so that people can receive care when they need it. And that's the thing with mental health. If you're having a mental health crisis, you need help and support in that moment. Not a week from now, not a month from now. And when we are able to meet those needs in the moment, we see that it has positive outcomes. And like I think there are some good things happening. We've introduced 988 as the suicide hotline in Canada. So certainly that's a step in the right direction. And if you call that number, the professional will link you with services in your own community. Like I mentioned earlier, we have the crisis center for mental health and addictions in our community, youth wellness hubs. I know we're going to talk about that as well is another great way to support that. So, I mean, a lot is being done. The people that work in this sector are so passionate and committed to improving what the experience is when you do seek help. But certainly it comes down to, more dollars are needed to meet the increasing needs. And, I would just say that as mental health literacy becomes more mainstream and more people are confident and willing to reach out for help, that is such a big step. And we need to make sure that when those people are ready to get the help they need, that there's someone there and they're not faced with wait times or any other barriers to service.
Yeah, and I know locally you brought up the youth wellness home, which services people in our community between the ages of 12 and 25 without a wait list and provides them with unique and specialized resources to help them through their mental health journey, my friend. So I'll give you the floor to tell us how you're helping our local youth with their mental health issues through this initiative, my friend. Tell me more.
Yeah, so we are fortunate that we do have a youth wellness hub in our community. It's located at 215 Eugenie Ave in Windsor. It's a model that is taking shape across the province and even the country. And they're referred to as integrated youth services. It's a model for youth aged 12 to 25 who can go into any of these spaces. You don't need a referral. There's no wait times, and you have an interdisciplinary team there that can support you in the moment when you need it. So in our case, we have two social workers that are able to offer therapy. Again, no wait lists. We have two peer support workers. We have an outreach worker. We have a nurse practitioner. So that's been really awesome to be able to connect some of these young people with attachments to primary care, because we also know we have a lot of people in our province that don't have a doctor. So we were able to offer that. And then we have lots of partners. Anyone who's operating in the youth wellness space is a partner at the Youth Hub. So that includes, New Beginnings, Maryvale, Regional Children's Center, the list goes on and on. And they will come in, their staff will offer services at the hub. We have a drop-in area, a great teaching kitchen, art room. So the other piece of the model is these skills and well-being groups that youth can come anytime they want. The drop-in hours are 11 to 7. And there's always something fun going on at the hub. And we also offer some services out in the county, so that's really important because we know that transportation can be a barrier to service. So we have staff that go to Leamington, Amherstburg, LaSalle, Harrow on a regular basis to do what we can with our current resources to support youth living in those areas as well. It's a fantastic model. There's now going to be, 33 funded throughout Ontario. It's a model that is endorsed by the government, and it's what youth and families said they wanted and needed. A one-stop shop where they weren't faced with wait times and they weren't being bounced from provider to provider. That's often one of the complaints we hear about for individuals with mental health struggles is that they need to retell their story every time they go to a different provider. So this is a model that looks to prevent that from happening.
Yeah, absolutely. And Kim, you said something earlier that I want to take a moment to revisit. When we talked about, mental health resources should not bring a privilege for those who are most well off, but it should also be something a right for all people. And I'm wondering, as we go through sort of a changing landscape from a societal perspective, I'm wondering your thoughts on the importance of making sort of mental health resources and awareness sort of a right for all instead of a privilege for the few, my friend. What are your thoughts there?
100%. Yes. We need to do, we need to do more. And we do see some signs and recognition of that, but certainly we know there are still there's still work to do. We know there's certain communities, like we talked earlier about marginalized groups that might include LGBTQ plus or the indigenous communities. I mean, I don't think that they would necessarily agree that mental health is, a right for all and such. So we need to continue the advocacy. We need to continue the fight. And I think there's more people than ever in this space that are looking to help and support both with, human resources, but also financial investments. It needs to be a right for everyone. Everyone deserves for their mental health to be supported the same way it's a right to have your physical health care supported.
Yeah, absolutely. And Kim, I know that most of your days are spent trying to better communicate that message, my friend. So, as the lead communications voice for this association, I'm wondering your thoughts on how we can better communicate to the public about the resources that are available and the need to be more transparent and open with our mental health needs locally, my friend. What are your thoughts there?
Yeah, I had the opportunity to be at a conference recently and hear Michael Landsberg speak. So he is a commentator that was with TSN and had his own mental health experiences and journey. And his motto is sick, not weak. And we have to review mental health as, a sickness. It's not to be viewed as a weakness. I say that, but I still know that there are those that are hesitant to disclose because they think I might get passed over for that promotion or that opportunity if I share with others that I do have some mental health challenges. We need to blow that myth up that it is an illness, it can be treated and managed just like anything else. We need to make it okay to seek help and see that as being empowering, not something to be shamed upon. We need to do better, sharing that message with some communities where they are less likely to come forward because of stigma and such. So I think we just have to continue to normalize those conversations. And if you are struggling, it's a good thing. It's empowering. You're strong and doing the right thing, seeking help. And we need to just every day highlight that message that you're not weak. You are doing what you need to do to support your own wellness.
Yeah, and building on that point, Kim, I'm wondering your overall message for someone who may be watching or listening to this who are afraid to come forward and sort of communicate their mental health needs because we can't help people unless we know the need. So I'm curious about your message to people about the importance of the mental health management, and if they're afraid to come forward, what would be your message to them about the importance of starting that conversation, my friend?
Yeah, I think, the theme for Mental Health Month this year was about unmasking our mental health. And, how often when asked how we are, we say fine or, brush it off. And, you take that a little deeper and, some groups or individuals might feel they have to stay silent. And in fact, that's further helping them or hurting their mental health because there's undue stress and anxiety about disclosing and keeping that in. That's really painful and excruciating. You want to be your true authentic self. And we need to be better listeners. We need to when someone wants to have that conversation, we need to be ready to listen and empower them to share their story and then help, if you're not the right person, perhaps helping them to get in touch with services that can be of assistance.
Absolutely. And Kim, I've got three more questions for you. And the first of those questions is, we have a poverty problem, specifically in Windsor, and I'm wondering your thoughts on the importance of addressing, the poverty challenges that currently exist locally and how it affects our mental health. My friend, what are your thoughts there?
Well, yeah, I mean, without housing, we often say, how can you think about your mental health when you don't even have a roof over your head? So certainly, we're excited to see some investments being made by the government to increase the amount of affordable housing that we have in our community. In the meantime, we really at CMHA, and I know other organizations in the community, go to communities and to meet people where they're at. So, for example, we do have a shelter health program where there's a CMHA worker and some primary care supports in any of in the four shelters located in Windsor. So again, meeting people where they're at. Similarly, in Leamington, where we know there's a large migrant population, we have a worker who goes and supports those workers and the farm employees and management in helping to support those individuals. So I think it's twofold that, we are very big advocates of getting more housing supports in our community, but that doesn't happen overnight, sadly. So in the meantime, just going to meet people where they're at. We also have a the most van that travels throughout the community every, weekday evening from 5 till 9. And we know where some of the spots are, where some of the homeless people, are, and go to them and give them just, some basic amenities like, some water, some protein bars or whatever it might be, and then helping them direct them to where they can go for services in if they choose to reach out. So I mean, certainly we're not waiting for, the houses to magically appear. In the meantime, we are doing what we can with our current resources to help some of those who are less fortunate in our community.
Yeah, and one of the ways you do that, Kim, I know that locally, that your association has made an increased investment in diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives. You've
Yes.
hired a coordinator to address that now. And
Yeah.
I'm curious, as we continue the importance of the diversity, equity, and inclusion discussion, I'm wondering the role that that part of the organization is going through as sort of a transformation, because I know that this is a fairly new initiative, but one you're excited to embrace, I'm sure.
Oh, for sure. We know that marginalized communities or some of those diverse groups or populations may be less likely to engage with mental health. It's not they're not as educated and don't have the mental health literacy. It may be frowned upon in their culture. So yes, like you said, we are fortunate that we have an equity, diversity, and inclusion officer now as part of our staff. And yeah, she's very active in the community. It's a lot about developing relationships and trust. So she is regularly out and just providing some information, attaching people to services. But we know that in some cultures, mental health problems are seen as a weakness, which makes people less ready to access help. So again, it's one piece of a large puzzle, but certainly just even when it comes to physical environments and our signage and such, just making sure we're as welcoming and accommodating as we can be. There's so much to learn across different cultures and traditions and such. So having her on board has really been helpful, and I look forward to seeing what else we can do moving forward.
Yeah, and my final question it's a two-part question about something that you brought up earlier in terms of business burnout and helping people who run businesses or who are in leadership sort of avoid burnout and sort of maximize their leadership capabilities. Because, I'm a firm believer as if you're in leadership and you don't do enough to sort of fill your own cup, you can't be a good leader. So I'm curious to get your thoughts on how we help people in leadership be better in their leadership sort of capacity as mental health advocates. And as we come to the end of sort of mental health awareness, well, how do you think we can continue the conversation about the importance of mental health overall? What are your thoughts there?
Yeah, I think leaders, you need to lead by example. So if you're talking about some strategies or such, or being quite transparent if you are having some struggles, we need to lead by example. And separate, have those boundaries, work at that work-life balance. I think that's challenging, especially as leaders, but disengage, to take your vacations, spend time with your friends and family, whatever it takes, take those breaks. You're more productive. I know myself, I'm more useful and productive if I've had, a vacation or, gone and done something I enjoy, whether it's going to the gym every day, right? It's finding those things that empower and bring energy and life, and positivity. Though you can, it's so easy to get lose track of that and lose sight of that when you have deadlines and such. But ultimately, you're a better people leader when you have those things under control yourself. I know we're never going to be perfect. It's something that a lot of us, you have to work at it every day, just like, having good oral health or good physical health. It doesn't happen overnight, but it certainly needs to be something that you don't ignore.
Yeah, and just finally, how do you think we can continue the conversation about the importance of mental health as this month comes to an end, my friend?
Yeah, I think, having conversations like this with you today, Kevin, just shining a light on mental health, its importance, why it's important, regularly. As we started off the conversation saying life is hard. And we need to do a better job of caring for our mental health, We see the statistics, they're not great. So something needs to give, and we need to keep having these conversations, empowering individuals, sharing strategies, tips, tools, all of those things, and bringing awareness to them. When it comes to mental health, I think education and prevention and knowing some of those tools are some of the best strategies. And, power leads to empowerment and information. So, we walk the walk every day at CMHA and try to get that message out. And just know that help is available. You are not alone. And I think, we need people to know that, that what's, top of mind and really bad today, might not be that. It's not going to stay that way forever. And we just need to keep having those conversations and know that you're sick and you're not weak. It's not a sign of weakness. It's just part of our health.
Yeah, absolutely, my friend. And finally, if people want to get connected to our local CMAJ chapter, my friend, what's the best way they can do that?
We have lots on our website, so windsor-essex.cmha.ca, for information about all of our programs and services. We're also very active on social media, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, are some of the platforms we're most active on. But certainly reach out, all the information. There's contact information for different programs and services as well, on the website, and phone numbers too.
Fantastic. Well, Kim, it's always great to see you. And as I know that we both share a mutual passion for shining a light on the importance of mental health. So I want to thank you for engaging in conversation and for joining me to do just that on this Friday. My friend, you're doing great work, and it's always great to see you.
Great to
So,
see you too, Kevin. Thanks for the invitation.
yeah, I want to thank you for the time and thanks for being here, my friend. It's most appreciated.
Awesome. Have a good weekend.